Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something we do for every set release. We're talking about how Vermilion Bloodline is going to make older decks better. Now, this is kind of a little bit of a tougher video to do because unlike previous sets, we actually didn't get any direct support for most older decks. There was a few things here and there, but not as much as in previous sets. Like last set, for example, we actually got a few multicolor cards that were meant to be played in some older decks. This set, no multicolor cards, but there were still a few ways to find some indirect support for some of the older decks. So maybe your favorite deck is in this list and you'll know how to kind of improve it after this video. But with that being said, guys, if you're new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so you don't miss a video. Tons of links down in the description, all the channel out. The one in particular today, guys, if you want to buy or pre-order the cards you see in today's video, be sure to use my link in the description to TCG Player. It really does help out a lot, guys. That being said, let's jump right in. So Gogeta the Eclipser, this is a card that is very, very strange. I talked about it a little bit in yesterday's video. This card doesn't really support its own deck in any meaningful way. So critical auto, if your leader is red when this card's played, choose one of your red unison cards and add a marker to it. Activate main, pay a red, choose one of your red battle cards with original power of 20k and place it in the owner's drop area. Play this card from your hand. So nothing in the red Gogeta deck has 20k base power that you want to remove to play this card. It's just not very practical, but I do have to shout out a YouTube subscriber and commenter that actually pointed me in a good direction with this card. So what you can actually do is if you're playing Reboot Hit and you're on your awakened side, when you attack, you draw the card, you play a 20k vanilla, 2-drop vanilla from your drop area, you swing with that. That card was basically gained for free, so paying the red to sacrifice that and then play Gogeta the Eclipser for the 19k critical is actually a really, really strong play. So just thinking about it, that's kind of the strongest play I can see with this card. So Reboot Hit would be the old archetype and old deck that this thing is directly boosting. But I definitely want in the comments below, if you have other ideas for this card, definitely do drop them below. Just don't forget, it has to check an original power of 20k. So originally I thought it could use the Technique Unchained Gokus and Vegetas, but their power gets boosted to 20k. It's not a base 20k, which is a little bit unfortunate. But Reboot Hit definitely seems like a really, really strong play with this card. Maybe it's not as bad as I initially thought. But again, in the comments, let me know ways that you're using this card. Next up, SS4 Vegeta Rise of the Super Warrior. I've talked about it a few times. I think the best way to play this card is an SS3 Reboot, a leader from 2 sets ago at this point. It uses this card really well because you can get to this thing early, whether you're ramping 1 turn in advance or 2 turns in advance. You can get to this thing as early as turn 5, turn 4, and an SS3 Reboot, this is a 3 energy draw 4. And let's be honest, I don't think you're really using the ramp effect of this card very much in any deck that you play it in. I think this thing really is just here for the draw 4, so not being able to ramp an SS3 Reboot is not really a drawback, especially when in SS3 Reboot you do sacrifice a bit of hand size to get your ramp going in the early game. So later on, playing this thing as a 30k blocker that can attack and then restand, which then draws you 4 cards, is a really, really strong way to get back into the game. I've played a lot of games against S3 Reboot because my teammate Danny's been testing it a lot, and you know, you feel pretty good against it in the early game because once again, they are sacrificing cards to get that ramp going. But once they get to S4 Vegeta Rise of the Super Warrior, which is a pretty easy 3 to 4 of staple in the deck, it feels really, really hard to come back from that. They get so much advantage. They get the beefy blocker that's stopping at least 1 attack on your turn. It's a really, really strong play in S3 Reboot. But again, I think this is actually pretty good in most blue ramp decks. I think this could have a place in like blue Zamasu, for instance, maybe blue Vegeta that's playing the Zeno Unison, but I do think it's the best in SS3 Reboot. So that's the deck that I'm picking for this to kind of indirectly support from set 11. Next up, we're talking about the combination of Baby the Unknown Parasite and Baby Golden Avenger. This really does just bolster any blue deck that you want to play. Do you want to play Huragarn with some mono blue shell or even maybe a multicolor blue shell? This is a great thing to play in it because the Unison on its own is incredible, gives you draw power, gives you the ability to use the counter on Baby Golden Avenger for free. It's super strong. And then obviously Baby Golden Avenger is an all-in-one, basically does it all card. Counter play, counter, removal, draw, triple strike. It's just honestly insane. If I had to pick the one deck I think this directly supports the most, this combination in particular, I'm going to have to go with Soul Striker because this is a 3-drop blue unison. When you're looking at 3-drop blue unisons, you really want to think about Soul Striker because he awakens when you play a 3-drop blue unison. So any blue deck realistically can use this combination of cards. It is really, really powerful in any deck that you decide to play it in. But I really like it in Soul Striker because when you play it in Soul Striker, you play it on 3, you awaken, you get your awaken effect, you attack, untap 2, and draw 1. added to the fact that you're drawing one off the baby, that type of tempo awaken turn is honestly insane. Like, it's really strong awaken turn. Again, I think you can play this in just about any blue deck you want. It doesn't have to be like a mono blue good card dot deck. You could even splash this like in a mono blue Hurrigarden, for example. If you're playing the old Hurrigarden chain, this is a really easy, like, what, 7-8 card splash. You play 4 of the Unison, 3 to 4 of the baby. I think 3 is probably an appropriate number. So a 7 card splash in any blue deck, this is really strong, guys. So I do want to recommend it for any blue player out there that's trying to make some older blue strategies work. Next up, we're talking about a few more blue cards. Oob, Power of Hope, and Gotenks, Return of the Reaper of Justice. I have them here on the same page because they both kind of do directly support Vegeta in a way. Oob is the much more direct example. This is exactly what Vegeta wants to play. It's a blocker, and then once you have Unison in play, each time you play this Oob, you draw 1. So in the early game, you can play Oob. Unfortunately, you won't draw, but you will be able to awaken off of that. And then any Oob you play subsequently, you'll get the draw off of. You'll still probably play some number of Dr. Rhodas, maybe even some Joe Calls. So maybe you'll just use Oob in the late game, but regardless, it's the perfect card for Vegito. This is the card that you want to be playing. Gotenks Reaper of Justice, it does sort of support Vegito, and I only really put it here because the SSB Gogeta Unison came out in the structure deck that Vegito came out in. But again, this is more of like a generic mono blue piece of support that supports any older or newer mono blue deck. And the reason I have it here, I really like it, is because when you're playing the SSB Gogeta Unison or when you're playing the SS3 Gogeta Unison from the Champ Pack, this is basically an anti-aggro tool. So more so with the SSB Gogeta Unison because it's a 2-drop as opposed to the SS3 Gogeta being a 3-drop. When you play the Super Saiyan Blue Gogeta Unison on turn 2 and you're able to activate battle this Gotenks into play, you're basically halting any form of aggression and redirecting it into the Gotenks. But instead of them swinging into your 10k or maybe 15k leader, they have to swing into a 19k rest moded battle card if they want to hope to do any damage to you. Let's say they loaded a really big attack into you and then you combo this into play, or not technically combo, activate battle this into play. That whatever it was, double strike, triple strike, critical, they may have dropped a super combo into it, is basically nullified. So this card, being as free as it is infinitely better than the Trunks that came out in the Vegito starter deck. So this does give me a lot of hope for that type of engine, especially as an anti-aggro measure. So try it out, guys. If you think that Red Broly is really strong, if you think Dark Broly is really strong, this could be a pretty solid sideboard option against those decks if you want to side this and maybe the SSB Gogeta Unison. But anyways, moving on, Ice Shenron, the Cryomancer. This is actually one of our direct pieces of support for an older archetype. This card, activate main, pay a yellow, discard this card from your hand, play up to 1 Shadow Dragon with an energy cost of 1 from your deck. With its skills negated for the turn, then shuffle your deck. So basically, this is pretty much an automatic 3 to 4 of Slam in any Sin Shenron deck you're playing. I talked about it before, how with Sin Shenron getting all the different dragons coming out in future sets, the deck is going to be very customizable in the sense that, you know, you play whatever engine you want. You want to play the beefy revenge blocker, you play the Sin Shenron package. You want to play the critical, you play the other Shenron package from set 10. You want to play whatever the piggy tries to do, which isn't actually all that impressive, you play that engine. But Ice Shenron seems to be an automatic 4 of because he searches any Shadow Dragon 1-drop negative energy Dragon Ball that you're looking for, and that will probably never change. The counterplay is not bad as well. If the other card's mono yellow, play this card, and the card being played is played in rest mode. That can hit Unisons, which is actually kind of nice against the aggressive Unison strategies like Vegex, maybe even against Blue Vegito. So pretty much an automatic 4 of Slam, really good there. Next up, SS Vegeta, the Prince Strikes Back. I'm talking about this because I'm talking about Vegex. Vegex obviously received a huge nerf going into set 11. Bibidi can only reach a maximum of 15k combo power. If you guys are tired of me saying that, let me know in the comments below. But anyways, this is probably going to be the super combo that straight up replaces Bibidi. I just don't see a reason to play Bibidi anymore because the fact that it only reaches a 15k maximum means that it's really no better than any super combo that just naturally draws a card, because that card you draw will most often be a 5k combo, making that basically a 15k for one card if you look at it like that. But SS Vegeta, the Prince Strikes Back, is a much better replacement in my opinion with that Bibidi nerf, because you're seeing 2 new cards. You have to put any dead card back into your deck. That could be a dead Unison, that could be some of your time agents that maybe if you happen to get a shuffle going, you'll be able to then mill them instead of just having them sit dead in your hand. So this does seem like a great piece of support for Vegex. Even then, if you happen to warp this card, it's more fusion fodder for your fusion Vegex chain. It just overall has a lot more synergy than Bibidi seems to have now that Bibidi is at that nerf capacity. But anyways, moving on, guys. Piccolo, Bad Omen. talked about it before. This is a great piece of support for yellow skillless. Skillless is kind of taking the identity of a red deck now, because you know, you play the Saiyan Scions, which fetches you your red 1-drop Goku, which then, you know, in tandem works with your Bonds of Friendship Android 8 and things like that. But Piccolo Bad Omen is great for a yellow based skillless deck, because you can take a life, help yourself awaken, you can look at top 7, potentially play like a Catapesla, and then go into like a Catapesla chain from that. So if you guys are interested in yellow skillless, this is honestly a really strong include for that deck. Gives you yellow energy, gives yourself awaken, gives you access to your Catapesla chain for basically, you know, 1 energy and 1 card if you don't happen to draw that Catapesla. So seems really strong in that regard. Definitely want to recommend it. And next up, guys, as much as I don't think Gogeta is such a super strong deck, it almost seems like it was directly built to support the set 6 Gogeta stuff that we got back then. This deck is really customizable, and that is one of the reasons that it's pretty cool, is that you can play the new Gogeta leader, you can play the old Gogeta leader, you can play the new skillless Gogeta support, you can play the old stuff that just kind of searches itself all out. So it is a really strong engine in the sense that it is very customizable, and it is very, very good support for a much older archetype. So I do want to recommend it here. I do want you guys to remember that this is very, very playable with the old Gogeta stuff. If you're a really big fan of that Gogeta leader from set 6, or even maybe the video game Gogeta leader, this is still very, very strong stuff that you can play. And that's pretty much gonna wrap it up for today, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments below if there are any other decks that set 11 is directly supporting that you enjoy from older sets. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.